Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bullspit podcast. We are here with our Outlaw Days preview show. They are going to be in Kansas City, Missouri. Hometown Outlaws have been on a run lately, winning 7 of their last 8, shooting themselves up the standings. They are 2 games behind Carolina. Let's see if they can continue that hot streak. They'll have 3 games in front of their home crowd, and then a lot of games for jockey in position. We're getting closer to Vegas. I believe this is week 8 of the season, and we're going to see how everybody is going to turn it up a notch for the second half and get on a run. Of course, we'll touch on our top 5 team power rankings, top 5 rider power rankings, and then we're going to jump into every matchup and pick the games. Rough go of it last week, especially on Saturday and Sunday. We'll see if we can bounce back. Sitting at 36-31 and 1 tie on the season record. I look forward to getting into this. Let's get to it. We jump into our storylines for this weekend, going into the Outlaw Days. Again, Kansas City has been on a run, winning 7 of their last 8. They have 3 riders in the top 10 of the MVP standings, and Colton Hevelo, Casio Diaz, and Sandro Batista actually leading the way. They've got things together. J.W. Hart has his team focused. They're riding as one, and Macon Broca has been making a big impact. You still have other guys like Julio Cesar Marquez, Brendan Eldred, getting in their rides when possible. This team is big time. I look forward to seeing if they can continue that success. Also, we have our teams, number 3 through 10, separated by 2 games. 3 through 10 separated by 2 games. A couple of losses this weekend can shoot you from 3rd to 10th, and vice versa. Everybody still has a lot to play for in week 8 of the season. And let's talk about the MVP standings. It's heating up. Jose Vitor Leme has salvaged his lead in the past couple of weekends. John Crimber is coming on hot. Some big-time guys such as Casio Diaz, Sage Kimsey charging. That's going to be a fun one to see. It's going to go down to the wire. Sitting at number 5 in our team power rankings, Arizona Ridge Riders. It's been a while since we've seen them in this segment. They find themselves sitting in 10th place actually in the standings, and they still do, even though they picked up 2 big wins last weekend. I look for them to build off of that. They had 260 plus on Saturday, 240 plus on Sunday, getting 3 rides apiece in both of those. Jacques Ahel has been the spark that they've needed. Let's see if they can build off of that. They're a veteran team. Eduardo Aparecido and Keyshawn Whitehorse in the MVP standings. They sit at 6 and 10. They have big matchups this weekend of the Thunder on Friday and the Carolina Cowboys on Saturday before getting a bye on Sunday. They're 2 very losable games if they don't ride more than 1 or 2. Both those teams can put up big rides. Let's see how they do. At number 4 in our power rankings and down 1 from last week, the Texas Rattlers. They've been putting together some solid weekends, 2 to 3 weekends now. They find themselves at 7 and 9. They are down 1. They fell just a bit. They have some tough games this weekend. It's going to be a bye on Friday, Freedom Saturday, and the Cowboys on Sunday. Again, 2 teams that you're going to have to put together some rides to be able to compete. Carolina is trying to wash the bad taste out of their mouth the past couple of weeks, getting their first couple of losses. And it's going to be big time. They're going to need to show up. But the Rattlers have people like Brady Fielder charging his way up the MVP standings, really being a consistent person for them. Let's see how they do. At number 3, we're going with the Young Guns, the Florida Freedom, up 1 from last week. They put together some big rides last weekend in Springfield, Missouri at the Thunder Days. They're starting to build some momentum. They've changed up their lineups a bit. They've had some guys, sent down, sent away, work on your craft, come back. I look forward to them to all getting back together, and we'll see. But the Young Guns have responded, sitting at 8 and 8. Really big games this weekend. They'll have a bye Friday, Rattlers Saturday, and the Wildcatters on Sunday. Wildcatters are due, so that's someone they're going to have to look out for. But good job to Paulo Crimber and John Crimber getting that team in the right direction. At number 2, we're going to stick with the Kansas City Outlaws here. I thought about putting them at number 1, but I'm not quite ready to do that. We'll see if they can change that here at their hometown event. They're going to have their hometown crowd on their side every night in the final matchup on Friday. They have the Mavericks. Saturday, the Gamblers, which is going to be a doozy. And then on Sunday, they have the Thunder in kind of that Missouri State showdown. We'll see how that goes. They've been on fire, though. Getting rides from everybody. Again, 3 riders in the top 10 of the MVP standings. The only team that can say that. Casio Diaz is a PBR world champion, and he is leading them big time from their rookies showing up. You got guys showing up, on a couple days' notice and riding their bulls. So Kansas City Outlaws, Casio Diaz, number 2. And at number 1 in our power rankings, we're going to stick with the Carolina Cowboys. They do get another loss last weekend, the Thunder upsetting them on Sunday in front of their home crowd. But they're going to wash that taste out of their mouth. They got the vets. Let's see how they bounce back. They have some really tough games this weekend. We'll see. Can somebody keep putting the pressure on them? They have the Stampede on Friday, Ridge Riders on Saturday, and the Rattlers on Sunday. Looking forward to seeing again how they bounce back. Had a couple of off weeks, not getting many rides in the process. They need to start getting back to those 3-4 rides. We'll see how they do. They're still at number 1 this week. Now we get to get into our rider power rankings, and the MVP race is heating up. This does not necessarily line up with the MVP standings, but they're going to be pretty close. And always factor in this most recent success also. At number 5, we're going to go with Eduardo Matos from the Oklahoma Wildcatters. He has been their MVP this season, no doubt about that, leading the way and being the first out, setting them up for success more times than not. He's had a couple buck-offs lately, but he can consistently get out there and put up 90-plus point rides. Great job from him. Excited to see if he can continue that success. At number 4, we're going to go with Sandro Batista of the Kansas City Outlaws. He has jumped all over the lineup. He's been their starter. He's been their middle guy. He's been their closer at times. He has been really their most consistent rider this year, as that's what the MVP standings and the points position say. He's big time. He's been able to step in when Casio Diaz was not fully healthy and was going through that buck-off streak. Big piece for the Kansas City Outlaws and why they're doing so good this year. He's at number 4. At number 3, and these really could have been flip-flopped, it's going to be Casio Diaz. He is the reigning PBR world champion. He is starting to get back to his old ways. He went through a little bit of a lull there for a couple of weeks, but he's been back since they've had their winning streak going. He is obviously the leader of that team, and he's at number 3 in the power rankings. He's going to be climbing up the MVP standings if I'm Jose Vitor Leme and John Crumber. Don't look back. At number 2, we're going to go with Jose Vitor Leme. Yes, he is number 1 in the MVP standings, but he has not been as consistent as he was. Honestly, he was just dominating to the start of the season. He's back a little bit more to an average for him, I guess. Still dominating bulls, still getting his rides. He is number 1 in the MVP standings for a reason, but we're going to put him at number 2 for now. And at number 1 in the power rankings, we're going to go with John Crumber. He is really starting to put the pressure on Jose Vitor Leme in those MVP standings. I believe he's only about 30.25 points behind right now, so 1 ride is going to get him back to the lead. It's been fun seeing these two go back and forth. They got to go against each other last weekend with John Crumber's team coming out on top. John Crumber is he's a maniac. He loves this stuff. He's so strong. He's so technical, and he's fun to watch. He's done a great job being a leader, vocally also. So good for John Crumber. He's at number 1 in our power rankings. And real quick, before we go to the next segment, I wanted to touch on the rider power rankings. That was a top 5, and you still have guys in the MVP race, including Sage Kimzey, Cooper Davis, Brady Fielder, Paulo Eduardo Rossetto, Colton Hevelo, and Eduardo Aparecido, all within that top 10 to 11. That is a maniac of a race. Yes, those top guys have been more consistent this season, but any of these guys can make a run. Still enough time in the season. It's going to be a really exciting MVP race. Now we get to go into our game picks. Disappointing 5-7 last weekend. I never like going below 500, but we're going to bounce back here. On Friday, we get to start out with the Oklahoma Wildcatters versus the Austin Gamblers. Austin has been so-so this year. Really average, I feel like. Obviously, they're 8-8 on the season, sitting at 4th in the standings. Oklahoma has had a nosedive after their first couple of weeks of success. It has not been there for them. The Gamblers, even though they haven't been as consistent, I see Dalton Castle getting a ride. I see Jose Vitor getting a ride, and somebody else is going to get a ride for them. I think they get 3. Wildcatters get 2. I'm going to give the edge to the Gamblers. Game number 2 on Friday is the Nashville Stampede versus the Carolina Cowboys. Again, 2 different spectrums here. Carolina has been at the top the whole year. Yes, they've started to lose a little bit. People realize they are humans and they are beatable. But they're going to be fine. Nashville Stampede have had some really bad weekends. They're not getting the consistency from their vets and Alan De Sosa and Silvano Alves like they need to. Cody Jesus has started to get some rides and been a spark for them, but you got to get more from the middle of your lineup. We'll see how they jump back, or if they do jump back, I'm sure Justin McBride is going to have them ready. It's just a little bit of adversity, and he knows how to handle that. I'm going to give the Cowboys the edge, though. Game number 3 on Friday are 2 teams that are very similar to each other in my mind. The Missouri Thunder versus the Arizona Ridge Riders. Missouri Thunder have been the grittiest team all year. Bujo Campbell's been getting some big rides lately for them. Don't forget about Dawson Gleaves. And Paulo Eduardo Rossetto has been a closer for them. Doesn't matter if it's left or right. He's doing it. The Ridge Riders, they've had some inconsistency lately. They started out better, fell to the bottom of the standings, sitting at 6-10. Both teams are due. They need a win. Thunder coming off a big win against the Cowboys on Sunday, and that's why I'm going to give them the edge. To close out day 1, we have the New York Mavericks versus Kansas City Outlaws. Mavericks are going to come into this one as a big underdog. Kansas City Outlaws are on fire right now in front of their home crowd. It's going to be a tough one. But don't forget, a couple weekends ago in Austin, everybody thought the same thing. Said the Gamblers were going to win, big favorites, and the Mavericks showed up. It's going to be closer than people think. Outlaws get the edge. We start out Saturday with the Wildcatters versus the Nashville Stampede. Really, 2 teams that need a win desperately. They have been falling down the standings. Stampede, though, have not shown that consistency. Wildcatters are getting rides from people like Eduardo Matos. Case Hitt got a big ride last week, and even though it was a re-ride, maybe that will spark his confidence. He's in the lineup again. And they need more from Court McFadden, Josh Frost, and hopefully Clay Guyton, will be back here sometime soon. I'm going to give the edge to the Wildcatters on Saturday. Game number 2 on Saturday, the Carolina Cowboys versus the Arizona Ridge Riders. I'm smelling upset a little bit here. The Ridge Riders are getting some rides. They had 2 outs last weekend of 240 plus. Cowboys have been on the little downside. They've had a couple of outs these past couple of weeks with 1 ride. Luckily, it was enough to get it done in some situations, but that's not going to hold true too much longer. I'm going to give the edge to the Cowboys. I would not be surprised if Arizona pulls it out. Game number 3 is going to be the Texas Rattlers versus the Florida Freedom. Number 3 and number 4 in our power rankings. These 2 teams have been having a lot of success lately, kind of turned their seasons around, led by MVP candidates Brady Fielder and John Krember, respectively. It's a close one. They've gone at it before this year. They've been good matchups. And I think I'm going to go with the Rattlers on this one. Closing out Saturday, you will have the hometown Outlaws against the Austin Gamblers. Really pitting 2 really good teams together. They both have a bunch of superstars. We look at the MVP candidates in Jose Vitor Leme in the number 1 spot, Casio Diaz in the number 4 spot. So there's some big implications there. Casio Diaz and the Outlaws have been charging, and in front of their home crowd, I'm going to give them the edge. I need some more consistency from the Gamblers. And we look at Sunday's matchup, starting out with the Texas Rattlers versus the Carolina Cowboys. This is another one of those. The Rattlers have been putting together solid outs, 3 rides or so at least these past couple of weekends. Carolina's on the opposite side of that. I'm going to say the Texas Rattlers get it done on Sunday. Matchup number 2 on Sunday pits the New York Mavericks versus the Nashville Stampede. I'm going to go with the Mavericks on this one. It's been hard to bet against them lately. They've been proving everybody wrong. I think that they honestly are the better team right now. New York Mavericks get it done versus Stampede. Game number 3 on Sunday will be the Oklahoma Wildcatters versus the Florida Freedom. Again, doing opposites here. One team has been faltering. One team is on a hot streak. John Crimber and the Florida Freedom are going to be the Wildcatters on Sunday. I feel that they've just been more consistent. If the Wildcatters can start getting rides, they got to have it from their vets. Josh Frost, Court McFadden has to keep getting it done, and Eduardo Matos. All three of them need to ride, I feel like, to get it done on Sunday. I don't know if they can. And the last matchup to close things out, going to be a showdown in Missouri. We're going with the Kansas City Outlaws versus the Missouri Thunder. They did go up against each other last weekend. Kansas City Outlaws getting the better of the Thunder. The Thunder are going to be hungry and look to get the upset in front of, really, it could be their home crowd too. I'm going to give the edge to the Outlaws, but this is another one of those where I feel like the Thunder could pull it off. They have the grit, they have the fight. I enjoy watching that team. Good luck to them. Well, guys, we got another exciting weekend of big games in the PBR Team Series season. The Outlaw Days coming at you from Kansas City. Let's see what happens. It'll be on Merritt Street Media. Make sure to download that on your phone or your TV. And please follow at Bullspit Pod on TikTok, Bullspit Podcast on YouTube, Bullspit_podcast on Instagram. We have a new segment out, BSing with Bull Riders. We hope to bring you that weekly with a new guest. Y'all check it out on our YouTube. And until next time, we'll see you then.